Hi, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to SA Accounting Academy. Here's a short clip on one of our previous webinars. I hope that you really do enjoy it.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. A warm welcome to you on this cold morning. Quite chilly this morning where I am. I don't know where you are. And it does not bode well for what's coming tomorrow and Thursday. Apparently, tonight we're hitting -2 on the high felt. Well, you know what? I told my kids this morning that maybe now we'll see some frost this year on the grass and stuff because we haven't seen that. I saw that last when I was a child. So it's been a while since we've had a really cold winter. Okay, so on behalf of SAAA, my name is Lettie Janse van Vuuren. I will be your facilitator for the next 2 hours. And today we are looking at the property practitioners, right? And we're dealing with crucial information for auditors and accountants of property practitioners. So specifically dealing with that, looking at what we need to be aware of, um, that's what's important. All right. I've put there with reference to the new PPRA guide. I checked yesterday and lo and behold, the draft guide became a final guide and they uploaded it onto the website. So I'm glad I did check because you've got I almost said brand spanking new. I changed my slides this morning just so that because we've now got the final version of the guide that was issued in May. So no more drafts, no more guessing as to what may or may not change. So we've got all the definite stuff in here now. So a little bit about me. There's a little bit about what I do. I do the webinar hosting and research on a daily basis. I also do some consulting work in terms of advising audit practices on whatever issues they need help with, doing file reviews, things like that. I also am responsible for the monthly compliance and legislation update, which I see a lot of you do already subscribe to, right? That's our monthly updates on all the relevant changes in any one month. Let's have a look at what's on the agenda for today. I'm going to start off with a background and introduction, basic requirements of the Property Practitioners Act, and there we will focus specifically on some definitions. Some important definitions. The most important one is the property practitioners one, right? The definition of a property practitioner, and then the guideline is for business property practitioners. So we'll need to know what that definition is all about as well. But I did give you the Act as well as the property practitioners regulations. So we will be going through, I'll take you through the contents, an outline of it. I am thinking of having another webinar on both the Act and regulations, and there we can get into the nitty-gritties of what Section 4 says on fidelity fund certificates. For your purposes, as an auditor or as an accountant or whoever is performing the duties, you only need to worry really about, do they have a fidelity fund certificate, yes or no? But a lot of times I know we like to advise our clients because they also look to us for a lot of information with sometimes with vacant looks, right? Vacuous looks, blank looks where they don't know and they expect us to know everything. So it's always a good idea to be a little bit more up to date on the actual legal requirements behind it. So bear that in mind, and then I'll ask you at the end of the webinar whether you think such a webinar will be beneficial or not. Right, then I'm going to deal, the majority of the webinar will be on the contents of the PPRA guideline. It's guidelines on audit, accounting records, and trust account requirements specifically for business property practitioners. And we'll be looking at some requirements there, when to audit, when to review, what is the requirement relating to financial statements, and some basic ones relating to trust accounts. Looking at other legislation that must be complied with. If that's the case, how does it work? What must they comply with? And what should you do if they don't comply? Then also included in there are 11 annexures that will make your life easier, and then also including 20 frequently asked questions. Annexure 11 is actually 20 FAQs that has been already been summarized for you by the Property Practitioners Regulatory Authority. Right. And then I'll just have a quick little session in closing. So what I would like to do is I want to start with some background. Okay. On the background, you'll see I've given you some abbreviations that we normally use. So wherever you see PP, it's Property Practitioner, BPP, Business Property Practitioner. The most important one that I use quite a bit on here is PPRA, okay? PPRA being Property Practitioners Regulatory Authority. Let me just make my pointer a little bit more visible for you. There we go. Perfect. Right. So those are some of the abbreviations that I have used on my slides. Looking at why we need to worry about this, because that's always the first thing I ask myself. Sure, so there's a new act out and there's a new guide out. Why must I worry about that? Okay. Remember that the Property Practitioners Act is a piece of legislation. Your clients must comply with it, and you have to assess compliance with it. So if they don't comply with the relevant laws and regulations, you've got certain reporting obligations in terms of NOCLAR, right? NOCLAR stands for non-compliance with laws and regulations. Now that could be modifying your audit opinion with an emphasis of matter paragraph. It might just be something that is not very serious and just something that you can report to management. Most serious of all, we might be sitting with a reportable irregularity. Let's say that they did not submit their financial statements by the new time limit. What happens is there are certain penalties and so on included, and we'll need to find out what those are and then see if it's material or not when we assess whether or not it is a reportable irregularity. Also, as an auditor and independent reviewer, you need to consider and assess compliance with the act as well on behalf of that's done by your client, and then you have to follow the guidelines that have been issued by the PPRA. When we look at the guidelines that have been issued by the PPRA, they have been issued specifically for business property practitioners, but it only relates to auditing, accounting records, and trust account requirements. So there's not all the nigglies around fidelity fund certificates and all of that in here. So this is very, very important and specifically applicable to us as auditors and accountants, right, and independent reviewers. Also, you'll need to advise your clients who are property practitioners on how to comply with the Act and how to adhere to the latest guidelines, because there are certain things that they must do, and that is highlighted in this guide. So that's why we need to worry about it. Okay. So there's a definite need for it. Looking at the background where this came from, remember that the new Property Practitioners Act, the original intention was to govern property practitioners. Now, way back in 2018, the Property Practitioners Bill was published and it was introduced on the 14th of June 2018. So you can see it really is almost a 3.5 year in the making before it was active. It was passed end of June, end of December 2018, and then amended in 2019. So they made major changes in 2019, and then it was assented to by the president at the end of 2019. So the Estate Agency Affairs Board, that must be EAAB, they are now called the PPRA. And what does that stand for? The Property Practitioners Regulatory Authority. The Estate Agency Affairs Act has been repealed, okay? It has now been replaced by the Property Practitioners Act. As you can see, that was a 1976 model, so it was outdated, all right? I hope I'm not offending anybody who was born in this year or before. Not that I'm calling you outdated, I'm saying it's the legislation was old there. Right. Very important, the new act became effective on my birthday this year, which is the 1st of Feb 2022.
I hope that you enjoyed that video. For more of our webinar videos, go to www.accountingacademy.co.za. Thank you and have a lovely day.